What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Off the Top Rope, Off the Mic Sports Network. So I wanted to talk about something that happened at Evolution, a topic, we've talked about a lot here when it comes to NXT, is Blake Monroe, the former Mariah May, who just recently made her debut in NXT. She made her in-ring debut at the Great American Bash on Saturday, and a lot of people, several people actually, were clamoring to me in the comments that the rumors that were going around, and I had speculated on this for a while, that Blake Monroe long term as a babyface was not going to work. It just wasn't going to work. And that they were biding their time. Anybody who watched AEW and paid attention to Mariah May knew exactly what was going to happen. Some people may not have expected and seen it coming at Evolution, especially given that she cost Jordynne Grace the NXT Women's Championship, which, some people will say, well, what does that do for Blake Monroe? Well, here's why I actually think this heel turn kind of makes a lot of sense. Blake Monroe beat the women's champion dead center on Saturday at the Great American Bash in that main event. She beat her. So why would she want to help Jordynne Grace, somebody who's physically more intimidating than her, win the women's championship and ultimately turn on her? I could see why people would want to take that the other way. But if you've watched Mariah May do anything recently, like or her as Mariah May or her in her career, this is a sadistic woman who will stop at nothing to get what she wants and manipulate the situation. And now JC Jane is walking into a situation against Masha Slamovich next week at TNA Slammiversary. And there's a very strong possibility that JC Jane does not win the championship there. So now you're setting the stage for, hey, Masha's probably going to be the NXT Women's Champion. And, you don't know, maybe JC is that. But what we're setting the stage for now with the resolutions of everything that happened is that Blake Monroe is going to be a top heel. And that's where she does her best work. And everybody could tell me, well, Blake Monroe is not Mariah May. Guys, this is the same woman that we saw on our television screens for 2 years in AEW. It's just a different name. So anybody who wants to tell you that they didn't see this coming or they didn't think it was necessary, they're full of shit. They're full of shit. This was the right move. Was it abrupt? Was it kind of quick? And, they didn't really tap that much into the friendship between Jordynne Grace and Mariah May? Sure. But as I said on the post show, they're on an abbreviated clock. They don't have as much time with her in NXT as they would like they did in AEW. That was an abbreviated timeline, but they had 2 years. Mariah May is going to be on the main roster in 2026. I would argue she's probably going to be in the Women's Royal Rumble. This woman is way too talented at her age to be in NXT for a long time. She will get that championship at some point. It may be quickly. I don't know. But I would say if she may be in the Women's Royal Rumble as an NXT participant, and then by WrestleMania or so, like similar to what Stephanie Vaquer and Julia did, she will be on the main roster in 2026. So to do this character change, it's fine. This is a woman. She comes across as one of those mean girls, and you knew that she wasn't being totally like authentic. Now, would I have liked to have seen a little bit of this more play out? Because I did hint that, hey, maybe Jordynne could win the championship. But then once I saw some TNA spoilers come out, I was like, okay, maybe Jordynne's not going to win. And if Jordynne's not going to win, they're going to have to find a creative way to get out of it. And Blake turning made a lot of sense here. So there's going to be a lot of people, maybe who aren't thrilled with that, who want to still cheer for, the former Mariah May, Blake Monroe. But in the long-term landscape of NXT, of the NXT women's division, and also just big picture, they need heels. They need heels because look at this women's division right now. You've got Zarya feuding with potentially leading into something with Sol Ruka. Kalani Jordan is still there. Lola Vice is still there. You've got Jordynne Grace, who's a big time babyface. And all due respect to JC Jane and the Fatal Influence, they're not going to be at the top of this division forever. Okay, JC is really a placeholder. And they needed to find a way to get Stephanie Vaquer up to the main roster. And, they did a shock win. And that's the way that this thing played out. But I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that this was a bad decision from WWE and from NXT and from Shawn Michaels, because at the end of the day, you've got to play to the strengths of your talent. And if you've watched anything from anything that Blake Monroe, when she was Mariah May or whoever, across all of her time, her best work has come when she was a heel, because she just comes across better as a heel. So you've got to be catered to your talent. The way NXT does things, it may not come across as, you know, the cleanest thing in the world. And like I said, I would have liked for this storyline to maybe have played out a little bit more. But given the way a lot of these cards were dealt, I actually think they did fine with, you know, doing this on a big stage. It gives Blake Monroe mainstream exposure. She's got a huge pop coming out with Jordan. And I don't think this hurts anybody in the slightest. I actually think, you know, Jordan, even losing another big title match, now she's got a motive to go kill somebody. And she's going to be on the main roster soon too. So you've got to replenish your women's division. And like I said, there's not a lot of top heels in this division. Like Jada Parker's going to be on the main roster. Lash Legend is very well liked. Those two are very well liked. So I don't even know if they can be heels. So you need somebody who's really good, really experienced, that can carry this women's division and be the bad girl. And that's exactly what Blake Monroe is. So, again, like I said, I've seen some stuff in the comments, seen some stuff in the chat of people that love Blake Monroe and they think, this is a different character. Guys, you haven't watched professional wrestling. Seriously. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, just because they changed her name doesn't mean she's going to change who she is as a character. Like, that's stupid. It's stupid. Like, you're not going to change who you are just because, you know, you had a different name at a different promotion. Like, some people don't like that a lot of the elements of the character that, you know, Mariah May is now playing as Blake Monroe is basically what she did in AEW. But hey, more like, hey, Hurt Syndicate crossing over to AEW. Like, this is the wrestling business. You're going to borrow gimmicks, or you're going to carry gimmicks with the creative of what you have. And to me, the best path to success moving forward with this NXT women's division, and with Mariah May now as Blake Monroe at the top of it, the right way to go about this was to have her turn heel. And, you know, we'll see how Jordan gets portrayed. Like, she's lost a lot, but, you know, it's through a lot of interference and a lot of bullshit. The only one who really, like, legitimately beat her clean was Stephanie Vaquer. And Stephanie Vaquer is, like, the cream of the crop, really. Like, one of the most over people in this division. So I don't know why anybody would have a problem with that. So, yeah. Well, anyway, we'll see where everything goes here. And, anyway, I'll talk to you guys real soon. Thanks for watching. We'll have a lot more coverage coming here. I'll see you guys. Bye.